This business is all about making money, but there has to be a little asterisk at the very end of that sentence, because I think a lot of handicappers and a lot of sports services in this industry give it a black eye because they fail to differentiate between making money for themselves and making money for you, the customer, the gambler, because without you, they're not in business. Now, for me, it's all about making money tonight. And for me to do so, it's not by wagering on the Gonzaga-North Carolina game. And again, a little asterisk at the end of that sentence about making money, because I like to differentiate. And the fact is that the plays that, if you happen to subscribe and get my picks over at the site, well, those are the plays that are my personal best bets. Those are the games that my money is on. This Gonzaga-North Carolina game might be the biggest game of the entire college basketball season, but it's not a game that I feel I can make money on. Oh, I could sell it, and I could give it a high rating, and I've been on a heck of a nice roll the last 2 months in college basketball, so I could certainly go out with a flourish and say, hey, win or lose, I've got another 15-dime best bet tonight, and I could make money on the sale, but that doesn't do you or I any good, because it's not the best bet on the board. And as I'm going to dissect this game for you in just a moment, you'll see why it's such a challenging game and why I just simply can't bet on the game, period. My best bet was in baseball today. It was one of the afternoon games. It was a slight underdog. That's the game where my money went today. And as I've always liked to tell you, it doesn't matter if it's a Super Bowl, it's the national championship game between Alabama and Clemson, it's tonight's game between North Carolina and Gonzaga. Guys, it's just another game. Now, did I have a 15-dime best bet on the Patriots in the Super Bowl? Yes. Did I have a 15-dime best bet on Clemson in the national title game? Yes. Do I have a play tonight other than a free play on Gonzaga, North Carolina? Absolutely not, because it is a tough game. And again, truth be told, guys, listen, I started the week on North Carolina, or the weekend. Then I switched to Gonzaga, and now I'll tell you why. My pick is going to be North Carolina here tonight, and I still want to bet on it. Hey, FYI, I also want to give you a little heads up, guys. You may have seen on the site that the big featured half-price play of the day today, and again, I always take the hottest handicappers and I put them as the half-price play of the day selection, because why would you want to pay half price for a guy who's not winning, right? Chris Jordan, who has an ultra-rare triple your wager 3,000-star release, a 3,000-star play on North Carolina Gonzaga tonight. And understand that in 34 years in the industry, he has 20 wins, 6 losses, and 1 push with triple your wager plays in all sports. Undefeated in college football after hazing with Clemson. Had one in the AFC Championship game with New England over Pittsburgh. And he has one tonight. The heads up is this. Trace Adams, who was also on one heck of a little roll, had a 2,000-star play on Oregon on Saturday. The only guy to have Oregon on Saturday. One of only 2 guys to win in basketball on Saturday at the site. Going for his 2,000-star W wager winner number 3 in a row, and going for winning day number, I know he's going for college basketball winner 9 out of 11. He is on the opposite side of Chris Jordan tonight. And truth be told, again, if you were to go down the board for the handicappers, it's pretty well split on who's on North Carolina and who's on Gonzaga, just like the betting public. That's why it's a pick'em game. So let's talk about the game. So I started, as I said, on North Carolina, then I switched to Gonzaga, and then I came back to North Carolina. And probably the biggest reason why, it's because of the championship game, period. I think that it certainly helps that North Carolina has been there in big game situations. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Gonzaga certainly played its way into the championship game. Yes, but, winning the West Coast Conference Championship as opposed to playing in the rugged ACC and the ACC tournament and losing on a last-second shot to Villanova last year, I'm sorry. North Carolina is more of a veteran team and certainly more tournament-tested, and maybe that's the slight difference here tonight. But I can make a case for either team, and I'm certainly going to here just in a minute, because, listen, North Carolina has the size. This is a team that is an outstanding rebounding team, leads the nation in offensive rebounding, almost 15 a game, leads the nation in rebound percent margin as well, goes to the rack great, as you saw Kennedy Meeks did, really personally delivering them that win against Oregon on Saturday. A team that rebounds over 42% of its misses. Hell, sometimes Roy Williams' team, their best offensive opportunity is a missed shot. But Gonzaga has the bigs to contend with North Carolina. They had the muscle down low. And you saw when Zach Collins, who probably is their most athletic player and their highest rated recruit ever, he came off the bench and had that great game on Saturday against South Carolina. You see what they can do. They've got the muscle to contend with North Carolina. Now, starting five versus starting five. You got Gonzaga with the three-guard lineup. So somebody who's 6'4" or under is going to have to contend with Justin Jackson. That is not going to be an easy task because Justin Jackson has been unstoppable, and he has really been the offensive catalyst for the Tar Heels here in the tournament and in the second half of the season. So that's going to be a challenge. On the other hand, that three-guard lineup has certainly hit its stride here in the last couple games for Gonzaga. I mean, look, the first three tournament games for Gonzaga, they averaged 69 points. Their three-point shooting percentage was 29%. They had 25 assists total and 39 turnovers. The last two games against Xavier and South Carolina, Xavier team that loves to play all those confusing zone defenses. South Carolina team known for its hard-nosed defense. They've averaged 80 points, more in line with their regular season average. They've hit 49% of their three-pointers. They've dished out 30 assists, and they've only committed 22 turnovers in those games against the Gamecocks and the Musketeers. And let's keep in mind that three-guard lineup for Gonzaga, much better than what North Carolina is going to send out there, because one of North Carolina's guards, Joel Berry, is playing on a pair of sprained ankles, and you see how poorly he is playing. Other than one game in this tournament, he has struggled. In fact, he has only shot 20 for 68 going back to the ACC tournament. He is not the same player he was during the regular season when he and Jackson were a dynamite 1-2 offensive punch from the outside. And if he's not hitting from the outside consistently, well, that means that the defenders on the other team can collapse inside. And inside, really, North Carolina is only getting offensive production from Kennedy Meeks because Isaiah Hicks, who averaged 12 points and over 5 rebounds a game this season, has more or less disappeared here in the postseason. So I can certainly see going both ways. Free throw shooting. You saw a North Carolina team that bricked one free throw after another. What did they miss? 6 of their final 7 free throws in the final 3.5 minutes of Saturday's game. That's why I had a 15-9 play on North Carolina. They're up 9 points with 3.5 minutes to go. You missed 6 out of 7 free throws down the stretch. Well, hey, that's why they didn't cover, and Oregon closed on what? A 14-5 run in that contest. Then again, you had a Gonzaga team that looked like just a great run. And then they allow South Carolina to go on a 16-0 roll to come right back into the game. So you have both teams that are certainly flawed. Are you going to have the North Carolina team that shot 36.8% against Oregon? Or are you going to have the North Carolina team that against a more athletic Kentucky team shot, 46.6%? Are you going to have the North Carolina team show up that shot 54.4% against Butler? Or again, are you going to have the Tar Heels team that showed up and shot 38.1% against Arkansas? Again, are you going to have the Gonzaga team that was so sluggish offensively against South Dakota State, against Northwestern when they had 21 turnovers, against West Virginia, or the team that looked like an offensive dynamo the last 2 games against South Carolina and Xavier? This is why I've been so perplexed about this game. Now, if you go to KenPom.com, which I use as one of my Bibles in terms of handicapping games, you see Gonzaga is the #1 defensive efficiency team in the nation. You see the KenBob, the computer projections, has Gonzaga winning the game. Could be. But, ultimately you have to play the game. And I've never been a fan of Roy Williams. I just think he's overrated as a coach. And I'm not a real big fan of this North Carolina team either, to tell you the truth. I mean, we've seen this North Carolina team lay so many eggs this season against Duke, against Miami of Florida, against Georgia Tech. Okay? Gonzaga laid 1 egg. It was against BYU in its home finale. It's a 1-loss team. But again, consider the competition. And ultimately, I keep coming back to the fact that this is a national title game, and North Carolina's players have been there before. And there's a big difference between playing in a Final Four game to advance to the championship game and playing in the championship game where the pressure is 10 times greater. And I just like North Carolina tonight. It's a virtual pick'em game for a reason, guys. I like North Carolina, but I think it could go either way. But the Tar Heels are going to be my choice in this one, even though we did see the dogs covered both times on Saturday, and the dogs are 33, 27, and 6 in the tournament. But, North Carolina, maybe they're owed one from last year. Now, in baseball tonight, yes, I have a baseball selection as well. I am going to go with a juicy road dog. I'm going to take a shot with the Seattle Mariners, plus $1.35 at Houston tonight. Felix Hernandez is not the Felix Hernandez, I don't think, the King Felix that we were accustomed to seeing during the first 8 years of his career, because last year, after returning from a calf injury, he certainly struggled. He made 15 starts in the second half of the season, had a 4.48 earned run average. And you look at his strikeout, his power numbers, they were way down. 69 strikeouts in 90 innings. That is not King Felix numbers that we are accustomed to seeing. Also walked 39 and had 87 hits allowed. Last year, a career low 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, Dallas Keuchel is going for the Houston Astros. 2 years ago, this guy, I should have brought him a Christmas present, because he made me a fortune when he was just like money in the bank at home, especially 15-0 with a 1.46 earned run average and 18 home starts 2 seasons ago when opponents hit $1.86 against him. He's not the same pitcher. Last year, he said that he shouldn't have pitched in the first half of the season because he was bothered by rotator cuff injuries. He had a 5.54 earned run average in his first 14 starts. Okay. Then he had a 3.47 earned run average in his last 12 starts, and he was finally closed down because of ongoing shoulder miseries. He didn't have the velocity. He didn't have that sharp breaking stuff that he had 2 years ago. I personally think that they pitched him too many innings 2 years ago, and it took its toll. This is a guy who last year had a 3.60 earned run average and a 3-5 record in 12 home starts. Not the guy we saw in 2015. And his last 2 spring training starts, worked 9 2/3 innings, gave up 11 hits and 5 runs in the process. So again, you have a Seattle team that had the core of its lineup with Nelson Cruz and Robbie Cano there, and they went out and were very aggressive in the offseason and tried to surround them with some more quality hitters. You have a Houston team that made a lot of changes as well. But I just want to take a shot with Seattle here because I'm just not that convinced that Houston's pitcher is back. I'm not convinced that King Felix is King Felix of old, but I'd rather take a shot with the Mariners in this spot as a juicy underdog proposition. So Seattle is going to be my other complimentary play. I wish you well, guys, and we'll talk again tomorrow when we do this one more time.